In culinary circles here, there's a lot of discussions about which dishes are the pride of Ukraine. These are typically dishes that are unique or emblematic of the nation. And in these conversations, Chicken Kiev is almost never brought up. So why is it that a dish that is globally known, technically complex, and sporting the name of the country's capital never included in these discussions?
Behold, my stuff.
It's probably because this dish has a bit of an identity crisis. Chicken Kiev, or kotlety po-kievsky, was inspired by French techniques learned by Russian imperial chefs, and the source of this inspiration was probably the French côtelette de volaille, and Russified into kotleta de volaille. However, this bourgeoisie name could not stand post-Bolshevik revolution, so it was renamed Cutlet Kiev style, probably because there was a hotel in Kiev that made a very famous version of this dish. So you have a French-inspired imperialist Russian dish given a Soviet rebranding resulting in a collateral connection to Ukraine that didn't even use the Ukrainian spelling of Kyiv, or if you're an Anglophone, Kyiv. So I guess you can understand how this dish doesn't really know who it is.
I know who I am! I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude!
So while Chicken Kiev's connection to Ukraine is tangential at best, it's a classic for a reason. And while the presentation and technique might be a bit dated, especially if you're using an old recipe, there's no denying it's delicious. And I mean, how can it not be? It's basically fried chicken schnitzel acting as an edible shot glass for an inordinate amount of butter. I mean, it's so good it's dangerous.
Granddad, you can't serve this kind of food to people. It'll cause death.
Whoa, this is what crack must feel like.
So get ready for some buttery goodness, because today I'm going to teach you guys how to make Chicken Kiev. This recipe will result in a simplified version of the dish that improves the traditional flavor while removing some of the snobbish presentation, saving time and resulting in a delicious butter bomb encased in an envelope of fried chicken. While traditional Chicken Kiev is made with the fillet still connected to the humerus bone of the chicken, wrapped in an internal primary layer of pounded tenderloin, and capped with a ridiculous paper-frilled hat, all this adds nothing but time to the dish. Since you are almost certainly not cooking for a time-traveling, mentally unstable God King oligarch, we're just going to cut all that out. Plus, most recipes from 100 years ago, made to exacting specifications, are typically a bit suspect. First, you need to make an infused butter from room temperature softened butter, garlic, lemon juice, coarse salt, and herbs. You will crush some garlic, about 2 or 3 cloves per breast, and grind it into a paste with the coarse salt. Since the garlic will be cooked only marginally by the molten butter, you want to make it as paste-like as possible. Once crushed and mixed, you can add your greens and pound a bit as well to bruise. If you want the butter to take on an ecto-cooler-esque color, then you can pulverize the herbs with the garlic, but I think this adds a bit too overpowering a taste. So keeping the greens bruised but whole is preferable. Traditional Eastern European recipes will also use way more herbs, but I think this is a more reasonable ratio. To help mellow the garlic a bit and balance the fat with the butter, we will add a hearty squeeze of lemon juice to the salted garlic paste and mix. Keep in mind, the garlic is totally optional, or you can reduce the amount used, since I went a bit ham and made mine super garlicky. Once you have mixed your chopped herbs into your pounded garlic, you need to shape it. On a sheet of plastic wrap, you will form a butter log sausage, if you will. Once shaped, you will roll the plastic while molding and then twist the ends and spin to get as round and uniform a shape as possible. This made about 5 portions of the garlic butter filling. You can also skip all of this pedantic nonsense by just rolling slightly softened butter in some chopped herbs and garlic powder. Or just use straight up butter for a less labor-intensive approximation. You will then place your butter in the freezer to firm, but not solidify, for about 10 to 15 minutes. While the butter is firming, you will prep your chicken breasts and fry line. Make sure you have removed the tenderloin from the breast if it's present, as it's only really used in old school recipes. You will butterfly your chicken breast into 2 separate pieces, trying to keep them as symmetrical as possible. You will then cover with plastic wrap and beat thin. You want to pound the tip of the chicken breast as thinly as possible and as widely as possible. And be a bit less aggressive as you get up into the thicker part, but still flattening the chicken without any breaks or holes. Use a rolling pin or an empty bottle of wine if you don't have a smooth-faced tenderizer. Once cut and tenderized with your butter firmed, we can get to shaping. Cutting a healthy chunk of butter from your dairy sausage, you will place it at the thinnest end of the chicken and roll upwards. Folding in the thin initial part and then pinching the sides and trying to press it into an American football shape. Coverage and perfect form factor matter much less at this stage than you think. Just ensure there is not obviously visible butter and you have enough coverage. It should look like there is no way it will work at this point. Now you will bread your butter balls. You will need 3 stations: flour, egg, and breadcrumbs, in that order. Start with a coating of flour, so the egg has something to cling to. Roll in flour until entirely coated. Then you will cover in egg. Make sure that every nook and cranny is coated in egg. So roll and coat the entire surface. Now for the breading, and this is the most important step in the whole process. Coat thoroughly, very thoroughly, with breadcrumbs. Press the coating firmly into the chicken while enforcing the football shape. The chicken is more a vehicle for the butter, and the breading is what seals it all in. Total and seamless coverage is vital. I have seen some new recipes that use cornflakes or panko, but traditional breadcrumbs ensure that you can create a really tight, reliable seal. Once breaded, repeat the egg wash and the breading again. This double layer will protect against leakage and ensure that you get that beautiful Chicken Kiev money shot at the end. Be firm with it, almost harder than you think. This is where your Chicken Kiev will either succeed or fail. So mush, press, and mash it, especially at the tips.
She's mashing it.
She does that.
I'm very aroused.
Bring your oil to medium temp and preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you will fry. You will need a thick bottom pan with about a centimeter or half an inch of oil in your pan. Do not overcrowd. In a large pot, I managed to cook 2 at a time. Once the oil is to temp and your oven is heated, you will give one last shaping to the chicken and gently place it into the oil. There should be a gentle but rapid bubbling from the oil and not a raucous hiss. You are not frying to cook, but rather to seal the chicken in a prison of breading. 2 to 3 minutes on each side will be more than enough. Just make sure that the breading is still light in color. You don't want it too dark, but just beginning to turn golden, as it will cook further in the oven. Once the breading is set and well fried, carefully move your chicken from the oil to the oven without setting your kitchen on fire or deep frying yourself, and bake for 18 to 20 minutes, depending on size or thickness. Once done, remove from the oven and let set to cool for about 5 minutes, as the butter inside is absolutely molten and will give you a white, hot, scalding money shot if you don't wait. Some butter drippage as it cools is normal. It happens to most guys and is totally natural.
They have Chicken Kiev. Butter squirts everywhere.
Once the chicken has cooled to a consumable temperature, you are ready to serve. Classically, they are served with fried potatoes and peas, but to me, mashed potatoes just make such a perfectly elegant canvas for all that buttery goodness. Put a mound of mashed potatoes on a plate and then make a deep crater with the backside of a spoon to act as an edible nest for your beautiful Chicken Kiev. Serve, slice, and marvel at the delectable goodness. The visual presentation is so incredible, like a savory little butter lava cake. The garlic added creates such an aromatic richness that elevates both the chicken and the potatoes. So while it might be a bit more work than your typical chicken and potato dish, I think this is one that is certainly worth the effort. Just make sure you have your cholesterol in check before diving into this one. Have you guys ever had Chicken Kiev? How would you rate it compared to chicken cordon bleu? Until next time. Thanks, guys.
Fuck!